And welcome back, everyone. Apologies. Joel is still learning how to use a cell phone. So we're going to give him some grace. We are getting everything back up and running here. So please, apologies and please have some understanding for Joel. As you guys may already know this, he's not the best with technology, but luckily Joe Patuto is, and she is back. Thank you so
I'm
much.
here, yes.
I had asked Joel and Steve to just go live and turn their camera, but there was some confusion along the way. So, Joe, if you wouldn't mind just holding down the fort, I'm going
Sure,
to explain it to Joel and Steve.
sure.
Stand by. Give me a few minutes.
Okay. I
Okay,
don't
thank
know who's on right now. I know you came on and you're now back on with me. We are waiting to see the press conference. I am assuming, I do not know, so I'm guessing here, but I'm assuming the press conference was with the prosecutors. And then I saw a screenshot of reporters standing around the Markel family, and I saw a couple of mics. I cannot confirm whether the family was actually answering questions, but it appeared as though they may be taking some questions also. So that's what we're waiting to see, and I'm sure we'll be back in. Oh, and somebody's telling me correct. So thank you very much. Maoist, I wish I knew how to pronounce that, be sure of it. But anyway, Maoist Swift, thank you very much. So we'll be going there as soon as this gets up. If the press conference is already going on, if you were on the last link, the COE said that she will start it from the beginning so you won't miss anything. And you'll get it from cover to cover, or whatever it would be when lights go up and lights go down. I don't know what the analogy would be for media. I know the analogy for books. Okay.
First of all, I just want to say it's been 11 hard years. And I have a lot of people to thank with the prosecution, the law enforcement. They've hung in with us from day one. And like I said, the Tallahassee is known for football. I think it's better known for prosecution and law enforcement skills and high standards of delivery of an excellent practice. Tonight, we have a lot of people to be grateful for. I've often said my life is full of two words, trauma and gifts. Tonight, I'll talk about, I said the trauma inside. The loss of Danny Markel is a great loss for all of us. And the gifts are all the people who've supported us, our allies from FSU University, the Tallahassee community, and all of you in the media, of which we've had tremendous support, social media, podcasters, print, and all other aspects of helping us produce and deliver this very important communication. So thank you. We are grateful.
Ruth, you mentioned the Markel Act in your comments, and I know so many people are wondering, will the Markel family be able to enjoy the protections of the Markel Act that is named for Dan?
Well, the Markel Act actually it's specific to, just to answer the question very specifically, it's part of having a civil or a criminal offense against the spouse of a person who has been deceased. We have had access because of the Markel Act. So as it was passed, it opened up. Wendy had invited us to the bar mitzvahs. We had a little bit of an opportunity to have communications and some visits, but they're highly choreographed. It's not a natural process. We're looking for when we can communicate via email, via phone. We have everything is done still through Wendy's devices, let's call it, and timeframes. So we're looking for a more natural opportunity.
Ms. Markel, do you believe that everyone who participated in this crime has been held accountable?
I'll let other people in my family talk about that.
Okay.
Well, first of all, just one little side thing. We were originally invited to the first bar mitzvah, and then we were disinvited from it. So just to clarify. My comments. First of all, I'm very, very grateful to the jury. They were very attentive. I watched them carefully. They listened. They obviously analyzed and came to a just decision. We're grateful to the judge for his patience and his guidance, and that everybody followed the law, etc. We're grateful to all of you guys here. I can't begin to tell you. I always, to me, journalists were never, they're into just to post stuff in the papers, TV or whatever. But you guys have really, really, it's been 11 years. You've supported us. And because of you, this case never went cold. And I can't believe people stop me when I'm in Dillard's or I'm in the wine store or at a restaurant. My claim to fame, unfortunately, is I'm Dan's dad. But it's so heartwarming to see this community, the people, and because of you around the world, there aren't enough words to tell you how grateful we all are. This is, even though it's joyful or I'm happy decision that's come out, it's still very, very difficult. And we still don't have the full access to the boys that we'd love to have. They're very, very controlled, very short, and very far and few between. And it's, we just want anybody and everybody who had anything to do with Dan's death brought to justice. And until that day happens, I will not be fully a happy individual.
And Phil, one of the, I think it's safe to say, one of the star witnesses in this trial was Rob Adelson. What was it like for you to watch him up there testifying for the government?
Rob Adelson and I we actually haven't seen each other for a long time, but we do communicate via text, telephone, etc. He is an incredible individual. How this guy happened to come out of this family is beyond my understanding.
I think we respect his bravery and his courage in doing what he did, and we really, we'll be very honored to see him and connect with him, but in particular, we really respect his courage.
And Phil or Shelley can answer this. Did this one feel different? You had the hitmen who were prosecuted. You had McBanawa, but now father to mother-in-law. There's a different kind of relationship between those two. To see her there getting found guilty, what was that like?
I have to think how to answer that question. It's hard. Each one is very gratifying, obviously, and we're happy with the results. This one hurts, I think, a little more because of who it is. I made a very short little speech, but I think what I did differently this time is the harm to families, not just only ours, but to everybody involved in this mess. And so many children without parents, without uncles, aunts, cousins, etc. It's so hard to understand. She was an educated individual. She was a kindergarten teacher. Where did this come from? I don't know. I'm not smart enough to figure this out.
I was just going to add that there is a certain satisfaction in this verdict, despite the fact that anyone going to jail is a hard thing to imagine, and obviously it's emotional, but I would say there's satisfaction in this verdict. And I would say that we're hopeful, really hopeful, that this will open the door for the future generations to, connect, for the cousins to connect, for, rebuilding a relationship with my nephews, their grandchildren, my children's cousins. This is, we hope that this will shed light. This will be the sort of element of truth that will be there for them to see. It'll be on the record for those kids to know in the future, and we would, welcome the opportunity to reconnect.
And Shelley, what do you think Dan would say today, watching his parents up there giving such eloquent, amazing victim impact statements, particularly Phil's last question?
I think he'd be really proud. Danny was one to do presentations. He was the, really amazing writer in our family, and I think his parents, would have made him very proud.
One question, what were the thoughts that went through your mind as you saw the defense strategy developed to kind of embrace the evidence against the daughter and the son? A mother, in essence, throwing their kids under the bus and acting as a prosecutor for the defense attorneys and calling them Markel Danny and all the stuff that they tried to embrace the evidence and pretend that they cared so much about what happened to Dan Markel.
Maybe those are better questions for the state's attorney.
Yeah, but I think the defense had to do their job, and I think that we have really looked at all the sides of the story, and thank you again. Thank you all.
We're very lucky that the state's attorneys and their team did such an amazing job in all of that. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you all for your questions.
Look who's here. Jared and Dave Ehrenberg.
Welcome,
Professor.
everyone.
Hello.
And just so you guys know, Joel is still inside of the courthouse, so he has not made his way out here. But thank you to both of you. And
They
obviously
cut
thank
him
you-
off on WCTV right as he was asking a question.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh.
Well, why don't you two go? I've been talking all day.
You've been doing a great job, Professor.
Yeah, great job, Joe.
Well, thank you.
Dave, let's start with you. Tell us your initial reaction. Are you surprised? Obviously, you also know Dan Markel, so this is not just any kind of criminal case that you're watching. This is a personal story for you.
Yeah, I am not surprised. I know that there was a lot of trepidation going into the verdict. I think I got text messages from people saying that they thought the prosecution's close was lackluster, it was too long. And I said, the decision's already been made. The die is cast. I mean, at that point, it was just window dressing. At that point, the jury had determined they didn't like Donna. They certainly didn't like Charlie. And she had confessed. She confessed in direct evidence. As I think it was George, it was very smart to repeat it when she said, it's the two of us. It involves the two of us. And then why did she have the license plate of her ex-son-in-law in her planner 2 years after they got divorced? Why? And when the defense had a chance to rebut this, instead, their argument was it really wasn't a nasty divorce. That's your argument? That's your defense? You know, who are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes, right? Everyone in the court was like, of course it was a nasty divorce. Why are you even fighting that argument? Why is that your defense? And then the other argument was character witnesses. Character witnesses, which, as Tim Jansen correctly said, usually go at the end, front and center, because that's the best they had. They had these New York, Jewish seniors who are making jokes about Chinese food and to talk about how great Donna and Harvey are. That fell flat in this jury. Justice was done. I'm so thankful for it. And the train of justice is not stopping. There is another stop coming.
Or two.
We know where that's going. It's going to be somewhere in Texas.
Well, and
Yeah,
Jared, you know the Adelsons, so it's interesting to have both of you guys on since you guys both know the Markels and the Adelsons. Obviously, you've been now on the Markel side, and you also run justice for Dan. But watching this all unfold, what has it been like for you? Were you surprised? And what about the timing of it? If everyone remembers, Charlie Adelson's verdict came down, I think, right before the 3-hour mark, and this was just right after the 3-hour mark, so very similar.
Yeah, I was not surprised. I actually, a group of friends had asked what I thought, and I thought within 3.5 and 4 hours that we would have a verdict. Watching today's coverage and listening to the panel earlier, I know that there was some concern about count one in particular, and that maybe that would cause the jury to deliberate a little bit longer, but I never thought it would be that long. I started to get even more confident as they were still there into the evening, the dinner time hour, because for me, I'm thinking if they're having trouble coming to a verdict tonight, they're going to want to just go home, rest, and come back tomorrow. They were working, they were powering through. They probably, much like Charlie's jury, they probably took a break for an hour to eat and already knew what they were going to do. I would not be shocked if we find out that they walked in that room, they said, "What does everyone think?" And everyone was like, "Are you kidding me? She's guilty as all get out." And they were like, "Well, let's just, kind of take some time and,
Have a dinner on the state.
yeah,
and
have dinner on
ceremony.
the state." So, look, there was never a doubt in my mind that she was going to be convicted. There was never a doubt in my mind that she was going to be convicted of all 3 counts. And I didn't expect there to be any jury questions. I agreed with you, Joe, when you said there'd be no jury questions, and you figured it would probably be a short verdict.
I did, but I didn't say it out loud because
Yeah, there was no there. It was as cut and dry as it gets. And Dave, I know you've done this many times, and I'm sure you were very confident in that as well.
I was very confident. And as a state attorney, you rely on your homicide prosecutors. And Georgia Kaplan is the best lawyer in that room. She's very experienced. And Jack Campbell relied on her. And ultimately, it'll be Georgia and Jack's decision where to go next. But I would be shocked if that train doesn't go to Wendy's house next. I really do believe it's happening. Before this trial, I thought it was more likely than not that if and when Donna was convicted, that Wendy would be next. So I'm going from a 55% chance to a 95% chance now because the prosecution has tipped their hand. They've been talking about Wendy a lot in this trial, just like they talked about Donna at Charlie's trial, just like they talked about Charlie in Katie's trial. They tell you where they're going to go. So it'll be very interesting. I do expect, by the way, the train of justice to arrive at our doorstep soon. I would say within 30 days.
Wow, that's fast.
I do. Now, it may be within 30 days of sentencing. That's the other thing. It's either 30 days of the decision or 30 days of sentence. I haven't decided, but it's going to happen sooner than you expect because why?
So
why
within
wait?
60 days.
So then 60 days because I think it's October 14th and yeah.
So
But
tell me, Dave, you've got the experience, a wealth of experience on the prosecution side. I think Jared thinks that they've got the evidence and they know they're going to go. What would lead them to wait 60 days before actually getting the indictment?
you got to go to a grand jury. So
It's not
first
going
you
to
gotta-
take 60 days in front of a grand jury.
Yeah, but the grand jury meets every month, and so when does grand jury meet next?
So the
that's
grand
what-
jury in Florida meets once a month for what, a week? How do they meet? How do they go?
Well, it depends. Depends on the circuit. So it could meet twice a month. It could be once a month. You
Okay.
could gear it. I mean, you have to. Georgia is the one who's taking it to a grand jury, and Georgia's
Right.
a bit busy right now. So I would say what'll happen is that once this is in her rearview mirror, it could be now or it could be after sentencing. She will take it to a grand jury when it meets, and then they got to do all the paperwork, and then they'll probably work it out with Wendy's lawyer as opposed to just knocking on her door. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know if you can trust this family. And so, but Wendy's lawyered up. She had a big entourage with her, and she had a legit lawyer. I mean, that was Trump's lawyer.
Yes.
So I think they'll probably talk to the lawyer, say, hey, there's been an indictment. But I think it's coming. The bigger question to me is, what about Harvey? I sort of think that if they're going to indict Harvey, it will be at the same time as Wendy. They'll make the charge. I don't think they're going to do the one at a time anymore. I think once you do Wendy, that's it. That you either do it all or you end it.
Yeah,
I think that decision will be made then.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that too, Dave. I think the one at a time was strategic. They needed Wendy for particularly for these last 2 trials. They really needed Wendy. Obviously, if they're going to indict Wendy, they don't need her for Harvey. So what's the point in not indict? If they are going to indict him, why wouldn't they do it at that point?
Yeah.
Right.
I thought, Dave, that in most ways, maybe always, the defense helped the prosecution more than the defense helped the defense. I thought all the witnesses were either neutral or helpful to the defense.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah, it's because the lawyers, I know a lot of people are critical of the defense lawyers, but they had to deal with the crap they were given, and they weren't given much. I mean, Donna, by her own words, did herself in. She's the one who decided to blab on calls that she knew were being recorded. After all, why is she talking in code? Because she thought she was being listened to, and yet she still couldn't help it. And then she's the one who decided to fly to Vietnam on one-way tickets. And I don't care what other explanation. That looks so bad. I guess my big remaining question is, I have some thoughts on this, is why didn't they use the video of her trying to leave on the plane? I thought that was a powerful video.
Yeah.
Now, it does show her in handcuffs, which you can't do. And perhaps there are other people there you don't want to show on the camera, but I still think they could have shown enough of it that it would have been powerful, but they decided not to.
They could have shown her walking on the jetway and trying to get on the plane and said that was a conscious effort to get on a plane to leave the country.
Yeah, I agree. I'd love
do
to ask.
either-
Well, I would love to ask Georgia that.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, do either of you think that if Donna would have testified, she would have been able to solidify a better defense? Because at least from our chat, I know watching the entire trial, people at the end were still asking, what is the defense? What is the story? We're still confused here. So do you think that could have swayed jurors either way?
It would have gone from 3.5 hours to 45 minutes. They would have said,
I agree. I agree with Dave. She would have come across so unlikable. There's just no way. I don't see that she could have saved herself by testifying. Now she'll think she could have, but no.
Right now, she is furious at herself and her lawyers for not testifying. She believes in her mind that she would have swung the jury. Remember, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. That's what Charlie felt. And I think the fact that Donna was so uncertain about testifying was not that she was uncertain. She wanted to, but I think her lawyers knew enough then to put her on the stand. I mean, they already had done so in that pretrial hearing, and it was a debacle. So that was the right decision, the right call. And it helps her on appeal. Now she can argue on appeal the legal sufficiency of the evidence. It's not going to go anywhere, but at least they'll have a shot. Whereas that wouldn't have played at all if she had taken the stand.
And I actually have a quick little 2-minute clip here of the verdict being read. I'm going to play it for you guys. And if you guys can just react to it afterwards. Here we go.
Has the jury reached a unanimous verdict?
Yeah.
If you please can hand the verdict form to the bailiff.
Usually quick verdicts are guilty verdicts. We'll see.
Oh, yeah.
Having reviewed the verdict form, it is in its proper order. At this time, I will publish the verdict. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 1 of the indictment, first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Mrs. Adelson, control yourself. Count 2. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 2 of the indictment, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Count 3. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 3 of the indictment, solicitation to commit first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of solicitation to commit first-degree murder.
Guilty, guilty.
And it is signed and dated by the foreperson.
All right. So that was a big reaction from Donna. Dave, looks like you have some things to say about that.
Well, that was the first time I've seen that because I was at dinner and I got a text from Steve Cohen when the verdict came out. And that's why I couldn't help but exult a little bit because, Jared and I were friends with Danny. And just to know after 11 years to reach that day, to see Donna Adelson, who really thought she was above the law, that to see her being found guilty, she had a similar reaction to Charlie. Charlie could not believe it either. And it was the quick verdict. When the jury came in so quickly in Charlie's case, Charlie knew his goose was cooked. He knew it. And so when the verdict was read, it was like almost he knew. Donna is even less sophisticated than Charlie. She didn't seem to have any preparation for it. Joe was right on the video. When that verdict came in early, there was no way it was going to be an acquittal. They weren't acquitting her after that trial in 3 hours. So that was guilty. And so she's that clueless. I think in her mind, she's convinced herself she was not guilty. That's why she was so shocked. She's like a sociopath, like Charlie. And that's why it's like to see this crumbling down. Wow. That was, man, it's not... to me, that's why I reacted the way I did, because it's like 11 years of frustration to see this family largely get away with it until now.
Yeah, I agree. No, I completely agree with what Dave said. That was my reaction. I was watching it. We were actually just getting ready to sit down to dinner, and I was scrolling through Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and I saw Jeff Berlew had tweeted out that there was a verdict. I started texting everyone that had asked me to text them when I heard. So I did, and we turned it on, and my wife and I were watching. The kids were actually sitting at the dinner table too, and they know more about this than they should. But knowing Daddy's friend was killed, they're kind of following along as well. And when they said guilty on all three counts, my wife and I both just exclaimed. I mean, we were extremely happy. And she got up, she gave me a big hug, and she was just like, "This is what we've been waiting for." And then she looked at me and she said, "You know who's next?" And yeah. And then when Ruth and Phil got up there, and Dave, I know you haven't seen it yet, but you have to watch their victim impact statements. I mean, I started tearing up. Absolutely. It was, this is bittersweet. And I think Phil's statement about, in the Jewish tradition, you always say, I hope you live to 120, and that he hopes that Donna lives to 120 so she can spend it alone in her jail cell. I agree. Yeah. It's, we're also in the Jewish tradition, we're not supposed to celebrate our enemy's defeat and things like that, but God will understand. I'm celebrating this one.
Well, you're celebrating justice.
Absolutely. It's for Danny. It's for Danny. And we have the right to call him Danny. Jackie does not.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are talking about Wendy tonight, but what about Harvey?
I saw that last comment on, and they said AK Walter. What is that? Why are they calling him Walter? What is that about?
So Jeff Dunham is a ventriloquist, and he has a puppet that's named Walter that looks just like Harvey. If you Google Jeff Dunham Jeff Dunham Walter, you will see it's uncanny.
Because it was a
And
pro
Dave-
wrestler from WWE that was named Walter. He was like a German wrestler.
Oh,
I didn't think
yeah.
Harvey looked like him.
No.
He's now called Gunter. So okay. So
Yes.
as far as Harvey, I do think that if he's arrested, he'll be arrested at the same time as Wendy, or he will not be arrested at all. And I think that will occur within 30 or 60 days. It depends on Georgia and the grand jury schedule.
And people are asking about Wendy. Why not arrest her within a week if they are going to do it? What's the logic behind the timing?
It's a grand jury. They have to get a grand jury indictment because it's a capital crime. So you need a grand jury, and the grand jury doesn't meet every day. It depends on the circuit. I don't know when it meets in Tallahassee. It could meet twice a month. It could meet once a month. But also it's Georgia's schedule. She's the one who would take it to the grand jury. Perhaps they've already done so, and it's a sealed indictment, perhaps. But I tend to believe that she's going to, when her schedule frees up a bit, she's going to go to the grand jury, get that indictment, and then it's on.
And there's probably stuff that is involved in this that we don't know, as far as things within the state attorney's office. They've got, like Dave said, this is not their only case. They are very busy. In fact, there are two other high profile murder cases in Tallahassee right now. You've got the FSU shooter. And then you've also got a case where a young 5-year-old girl was murdered by her mother and her stepfather. That actually happened right around the corner from my house. It's awful. And those are two cases that are very big time cases in Tallahassee right now. So I'm sure that they're looking at things. They're making sure they've got all their I's dotted, their T's crossed. They don't want to do anything that would jeopardize getting a conviction on Wendy. I mean, they were very careful with all of these people. They want to be super careful on this one.
And this is for either Dave or for Joe. What about Wendy's immunity? How does that now play into the fact that maybe Wendy is next? Georgia did leave today saying, stay tuned again. So we know that last time she said that there was action taken. So talk to us about the immunity that was just given for this trial and what that means for an upcoming arrest, if there is one.
Well, they're going to have to do what's called a castigar hearing to vet any evidence that they intend to use that the defense may claim came from Wendy's testimony, either directly Wendy's testimony or information they derive from Wendy's testimony. The rule for derivative use immunity is easy. If you make someone testify against her penal interest, self-incriminate, you've got to put her in the same place as if she never testified. And so that means you can't use anything she said, and you can't use anything you got only because of what she said. That rule is easy. The factual issue is if you've got evidence you want to use, some of it you're going to have to demonstrate didn't come from what she said on the stand, and they didn't get from anything that she said on the stand. Some of it's easy. The interview she did with the detective right at the beginning came before she was forced to give information. That's easy. That's in. Information they got from interviewing witnesses that had no relationship to Wendy will be easy. But there are going to be other things where the defense will claim, you said you got it a different way. We don't believe it. Prove it. That's going to have to happen because the state has to know what evidence it's going to be able to use before that trial happens. So that's going to delay it some, because they've got to do that first.
Yeah, and there's stuff. There's some other stuff too. I mean, she gave over her phone willingly in that first interview. So any of those texts or phone calls or things like that they got from that will be able to be
Absolutely
used.
open. Yep.
The divorce file, all of that was, that had nothing to do with Wendy testifying. That was all stuff that they got because Danny was killed.
Right.
So there's all sorts of things that they have that they're able to use. And we learned about a lot of things throughout this trial that they brought up about Wendy, but never asked Wendy about. That was strategic. There are reasons that they did not bring it up to Wendy.
And also, we don't know. They have Donna's phone. They got some WhatsApps off Donna's phone. There may be other things on that phone that are independent of anything Wendy said or anything they got from anything Wendy said. So I think there's a lot of evidence out there, but they're going to have to, the evidence that's in that gray area, they're going to have to demonstrate to the satisfaction of the judge that it came some other way.
And Dave, this super chat here is for you, although we sort of addressed it, but just your opinion. Do you think the prosecution case against Wendy will be more difficult? And then adding to that, Raina here had no question. Georgia said more sealed things to come.
Okay, yes, it will be more difficult against Wendy. It's one of the reasons why they go step by step. The easiest one was against the killers, and then the conduit, Katie McBanoa, and then Charlie. It gets harder every single time, but every time they prosecute one of them, they learn more information. When they got Donna on the jetway, they got her phone, and I'm sure that had some incriminating. Well, maybe not, but I think it probably had some text with Wendy in there. So, and there are things we heard at this trial that I didn't know. And now, I thought they were going to prosecute Wendy before, but now when I heard it, I was like, wow, I didn't know that the killers went to Tallahassee the first time in a now that was an identical match to Jeff Lacoste's car. How did that happen? And then my question, maybe this for the panel, since we're talking about this, is now the second time they went up on the Prius, did Jeff Lacoste drive a Prius by the second time they went up? Or was that just a random car they chose?
No, but it was a similar color to the car that Jeff Lacoste drove.
Okay, very, very interesting.
He drove a Sentra, I believe it was, and a Prius and a Sentra. If you look at it quickly, difficult to tell.
All right, and then there's the license plate. How do you think Donna got the license plate? Who would have given that license plate to Donna? Okay. And as far as what was the second question? I see we have Joel. The second question about Wendy, how strong the case? I think the case against Wendy is strong, but juries are unpredictable. She'll be well lawyered. She was kept out of some of it. There was some exculpatory evidence that was given in the trial that Wendy will use, like the parts where they're talking about how lucky she is that she wasn't part of this. That type of thing, but she was kept out of it. I still think they got her, but it is not going to be as easy as it was to get Donna.
Yeah. By the way, the best part of this show is I actually don't have to ever be here. There's no host needed. Had technical difficulties earlier. Tim took over. Aaron Berg is hosting now. It's the greatest thing. I'm gonna move to Aruba, and I'll let everyone host the show.
I thought you were moving
So
to Tallahassee.
or Tallahassee.
I thought
But
it was
thank you all.
Vietnam.
Let me just give you a cautionary tale. Never ask me to do two technical things at one time. The COE is screaming at me to show the press conference, and then I end the stream. Like I can only do
I
one
just
thing at
said
a
turn the
time.
phone around.
And then
Yeah.
she's screaming at me now that she needs a host. We don't need a host. You need Dave Arenberg or, Jared or Joe. You do not need a host. COE never in the. So COE is telling me to record. I don't know what she's asking. Steve Cohen's relaying the information.
No, I said to go
And then
live, not record. But
I
it's fine.
turn on the camera or StreamYard, and suddenly Survive the Survivor is blasting in like a very quiet media area where we're waiting for Georgia. So I panic and I ended the stream. So I actually am very glad that happened.
Before you did that, let me defend the COE. Before you did that, you had the camera focused on you rather than the press
I
conference.
apologize for that. That's even worse. But COE, I sent you 2 videos, one of the Markells and one of Georgia, and it would be great to play those back now if you have them. But first, Adam Lamparello here. And I just got some interesting intel. If Wendy is charged, can the prosecution use transcripts of testimony from Donna, either Joe or Dave? This is a you question. But if Wendy is charged, Dave, let's throw this to you. Can the prosecution use transcripts of testimony from Donna or Charlie's trial to impeach Wendy if she testifies? Dave?
Yeah, they can impeach her. So if she says something different on the stand, the immunity doesn't spread towards lying or to giving different testimonies. They can use it to impeach her. They just can't use it as proof of her guilt, but it can be used for impeachment. And it can also be used if they want to charge her with perjury, but they're not going to charge her with perjury because they're, I think, going to charge her with murder.
So let me give you a couple inside baseball things that happened this afternoon because it was tonight. So we did a show. Again, I didn't have to be there, but we did that. COE's telling me now she has to, COE, I could really use those videos since they're pretty timely, and I sent them to you, and it looks like they went through. But a couple things. So everyone was waiting outside courtroom 3G. We're either in the hallway or the media room. It was sort of, quiet, anxious moments. And then good old Tim Jansen turns the corner as I was walking around the corner. There's like 100 people up there. And Tim literally looks at me like as casually as like saying, do you want a beer? He says, there's a verdict. I go, what? He goes, there's a verdict. I go, what? I go, what? He goes, wait. He assumed that we all knew because he had just heard it from a sheriff's deputy. So I'm like, Tim, where are you hearing this? He's like, oh, the sheriff's deputy just told me. So I screamed, there's a verdict because I don't know what the hell's going on. And then everyone just immediately lined up outside courtroom 3G. And like 3 minutes later, the sheriff's deputies came out, opened the door, and then you see Judge Everett already in the courtroom. And Donna was already there. And I got to tell you, when that first guilty came out and Donna just wailed, it's hard to explain what that sounded like inside the courtroom. That is a sound I will never forget. I mean, that wasn't a cry, and that was a wail. And right away, before that happened, Judge Everett had come out. He was sitting at his bench, and then he stepped away to come to the gallery before the jurors came in, and he said, I don't want any reactions. And then he pivoted around to the defense table and said, Ms. Adelson, I do not want any reactions from you. This could be emotional. And when she wailed, that's what he stopped. He stopped right there. And he sent the jurors out until she could compose herself. Harvey sat like this. I'm not going to say I'm worried about him, but nothing would surprise me. He looked like he was at the end of his rope tonight. So it was really such a surreal moment that I still have to unpack. But I got some intel. Georgia was really anticipating. So if you guys recall, obviously yesterday, Donna hemmed and hawed about wanting to testify, Joe Patuto. And then we got word late last night, and it was coming from sources at the top. Let me put it that way. And we were getting word that Donna had a change of heart. So I found out just now that Georgia Kappelman only slept 3 hours last night. And in this little news conference she did with us, she said she had about 120-page notebook ready to go, all tabbed up. And she said that she had prepared meticulously for that. And I think she was up because now she had gotten word that she was going to testify. So even Jack Campbell cut the interview short because he said Georgia hasn't slept. And then I got it confirmed that she only slept 3 hours. So Joe Patuto, I guess the reporting was right that Donna had a change of heart, but ultimately didn't testify. What do you think happened there where it was like, no, 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 yes, no?
I'm not surprised she had a change of heart, actually. I think she wanted to testify, and she kept being told by her lawyers, this is not a good idea. Let's look at some of the evidence. These are the sorts of questions you're going to be asked. How will you be able to answer them? We need to go with what we have. We'll have enough to create reasonable doubt in at least one juror. That's what we need to do. But she wanted to testify. And I think she ultimately, when she had to say yes or no, when Judge Everett pushed her, she went with her lawyers, and then she went back to her, her where she was staying. I guess they're not cells now, and started kvetching over it and decided she was wrong and she wanted to testify. So she called them again, and I'm sure they went through it again with her. And I'm sure now she is sure that she was right. She should have testified. And had she testified, it would have been a not guilty verdict.
Yeah, well, it would have been probably quicker. Also, a couple interesting things. COE, I don't know where you escaped to, but I would really like to get those two videos. Now everyone's going to be like, he's so demanding.
Well, real quick, one observation. I mean, it was so clear that Judge Everett was so over Donna Adelson.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the way he chastised her and scolded her, he was so ready for her to be out of his courtroom. There is no doubt about that.
Yeah. I don't want to pat myself on the back, but this jury, oh, Jesus, my video has not been, it tells me it's been delivered. Sorry, everybody. You're about to see a family fight here. First time on air. Jared, what was I just saying?
We were talking about Judge Everett being over Donna.
I mean, I was going to say, I don't want to be self-congratulatory, but I had kind of said this, and I stand by this. This jury had their mind made up on day one. And if they didn't have their mind made up on day one, they most certainly had it made up. They most certainly had it made up after Rob Adelson testified. I mean, Dave Arenberg today, Jackie Fulford went after Rob, who's kind of a universally loved figure, almost like Judge Everett. Was that a mistake on her part?
Well, I thought that Rob was the most compelling witness, and because of that, she had to do something. She had to say something in response. So calling him a disgruntled family member, I mean, you got to do something, all right? I mean, to ignore it, you ignore it at your own peril. So really, she didn't have many good options. I think the case, I agree, was largely over after Rob testified. You have your own son, a son who was very credible, who was very sympathetic, and you could see the pain in his eyes. And he testified about how Donna, who cares so much about everything, the helicopter mom, who is a Budinsky in everyone's life, all of a sudden, when Danny is murdered, it's like, I don't care. I don't want to talk about it. And it's never brought up again. Wow. I mean, that's so powerful. And then all the other evidence. But at that point, I mean, the ship, her ship had sailed. That was the end of this case.
Yeah. There's always like that bit of doubt. I mean, Jared, today, this afternoon, when you and I were texting and we're in this kind of holding pattern, were you worried that this jury, I mean, anytime a defense attorney is, I mean, for what Jackie had to work with and sort of the quirky personality that she is, she did a fairly decent job in the closing arguments. I wouldn't say a fantastic job, but you get one juror and that kind of, it ruins the proverbial party. But did you have any moments this afternoon, like while we were waiting, where you're like, this could go the wrong way?
No, I was never worried. In fact, in my group chat with my high school friends, a few of them were worried about a hung jury on the first count, and I told everybody she's going to be guilty on all three counts. The state did a phenomenal job of pointing out not just the circumstantial evidence, but the direct evidence. And y'all said it in the panel earlier today when they put that graphic up there that laid out all of the direct evidence against her. I think any little seed of doubt that may have been sowed in the closing by the defense was erased right there. They realized once again that everything they had heard for 2 weeks has led them to know that this sweet, loving grandmother from South Florida was not a sweet, loving grandmother from South Florida. She was a conspirator to murder and a first degree murderer. And that's what they found.
Yeah. Tim Jansen, where is he? He's getting dinner and a drink. And I told him I had to do the show. He said to me, get lost, have fun. So I'm doing the show, and then I'm gonna probably roll back to Miami tomorrow. I haven't seen my family. Well, they were up here, but I haven't seen Miami in 3 weeks. So gonna get back there. But obviously the most important people in this are the Markel family. And right after the victim impact statements, which we can talk about, which I thought were absolutely amazing. And Phil had the mic drop moment at the end. Was it worth it? To Donna, and a question that he wants her to ponder for till she lives to 120 in that prison cell. They were just standing there, and there was like all this excitement and movement. And I saw Phil just standing there with Ruth. So I just went up to them, and it was just very emotional, gave them each a kiss on the cheek, gave Shelly a kiss on the cheek. And then a few minutes later, they came out, and if we roll this video, which I think we will in a minute or two, I was able to ask Shelly doesn't really like to talk that much, credit to her, but at the end, like toward the end of that little press conference with Phil, Shelly, and Ruth, I was able to ask Shelly what Dan would have thought of the victim impact statements by his parents today. And Shelly basically said he would have been so proud. And at that moment, I looked over, and Phil was doing everything he could. And I didn't ask the question for this purpose, but Phil was doing everything he could to kind of hold back the tears. I just don't think people realize, and Dave, you have experience just being a state attorney, and dealing with the families, but I don't think people realize how hard this is. Like the waiting is hard for us, but, in your experience dealing with families, what's it like for them?
Well, it's as difficult as you can imagine. That's why we have full-time employees who are victim witness coordinators, and they're one part ombudsman, one part troubleshooter, but also one part counselor. These people are amazing, and they help individuals through the criminal justice system. Most victims, survivors, they've never been in a courtroom before in that role, maybe just as a juror. And so to help them navigate through the criminal justice system is really important. It's an underrated job, and those folks are amazing. They are true public servants who do it. But yet it's still devastating if you don't get justice. I mean, imagine if they went home and Donna got to go free. I mean, how do you live like that the rest of your life, knowing the woman who was involved with the murder of your son is going free? But they don't have to worry about that. And this case is not over yet, because more justice is coming.
So let me just paint the picture, and then I'm hoping we can actually watch the video. Hint, hint, hint. But
Hey, Joel, is the video from the press conference that we aired earlier?
Oh, you aired it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I also have Phil, Shelly, and Ruth. Do you have that?
Separately?
Yeah.
It was just a one-on-one, or it was sound from the presser?
It was a press conference, but
we got you. We heard you asking questions.
Oh, so you already did it. So why don't you just tell me that?
I thought it was separate video.
No, I did not get exclusive.
Okay. All right. You're doing great. Continue.
I'm happy I cut the stream off again. Thank you. So let me look at a question here until I read. Shouldn't she just, I told her I had video, and now she told me, okay. Do you think Donna tried this on more than 2 jail? I mean, Jared, you know the family a little bit. Do you think she attempted this on more than Drina and Patricia Bird? Are we going to find this out?
Well, there was the other potential jailhouse witness that was not permitted to testify. Was it Mickey Eastwood or whatever her name was?
Yeah.
Something like that. So it's possible that that's what she was trying to do with her. I think Donna had a group of women in prison, in jail, that she was grooming to be her jail daughters and manipulating. And it's within their family culture, as we've now seen, that they do this. They're bad people. That's what it comes down to. And part of me is mad at myself for allowing me to have been friends with Wendy for as long as I was. And it took about 1.5 to 2 years after Danny was murdered for me to really change my mind completely. But for a while, I mean, I would tell people all the time, I don't think Wendy was involved. I don't think Wendy was involved. Now I know without a shadow of a doubt that she was involved, and I'll tell anyone who asks me that. But again, you sometimes when you're in the moment, you don't see it.
Yeah. I mean, it's also, it's very surreal. Like today, Stephen Webster was talking about the cognitive dissonance of like knowing Dan, but never being able to understand that he said he'll never understand that he was actually murdered. Like he just can't put 2 and 2 together. Yeah. But Paul, by the way, paralegal Mandy, Joel is rude to the person he should treat better than anyone. Hey, I got her Lady Gaga tickets last night, and then Lady Gaga canceled in the last minute. How dare she? I love my wife. She's doing great. This is just a little spousal dust up. Paul Schultz here. Donna is a phony. She just acted like she wanted to testify to have an excuse later to save face for the guilty verdict. I don't know if that's the case or not, but whatever it was, I mean, Jared, I can pretty much guarantee everyone there wasn't a single tear shed for Dan Markel there. That was all for Donna Adelson now having her life taken from her. I mean, this is so tragic on so many levels, but do you agree with me? I mean, she was not showing remorse. She was showing self-pity, correct?
It's the same thing when Charlie got convicted. There was no one was upset in the Adelson family that Danny was gone. They're upset that they got caught. That's all they care about. The email, the thing that resonated with me today was when Georgia, in her rebuttal, talked about the email where Donna said, "I don't understand why Ben is sad about the loss of his father." That shows you how cold they are. I mean, the kid was, at the time, I guess this was maybe a couple months or a year after it had happened. So he's 4 or 5 years old. Man, I hope to hell that my kids would be sad if I was gone. And they're 14 and 11.
Yeah.
I was horrified by that. And I thought that was so impactful. I'm sure the jury felt the same thing, but I don't understand why he's sad.
Oh, it's
heartbreaking.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, credit to the Markels because, Phil could have gotten up there and just bashed everyone, but he talked about all the victims, right? I mean, that's how he basically started it. I mean, talked about Luis Rivera's kid. So, that's just.
And Roman. They talked about Charlie's kid.
Yeah, Roman too. Yeah. Dave, this is up your alley here from No Such Thing as a Ridiculous Question. Would there be any possibility that Georgia Kappelman has already presented evidence against Wendy to a grand jury, Dave Ehrenberg? Georgia and Sarah Catherine left it all on the field. It's just incredible.
Yeah, it's possible. It could be a sealed indictment. In fact, did I see from one of the comments that she mentioned a sealed something under sealed?
Yeah. So there's some sort of sealed evidence, and that was going to be used in this trial, apparently, that they decided not to use. And so one of the reporters asked if that would be unsealed, and Georgia said that's not really her decision. But what that is, we don't really know. But it's interesting, right?
Yeah, that is interesting. I think it's more likely that an indictment hasn't happened yet. Tallahassee's a small town, and I know there are grand jury secrecy rules, but especially when you're depending on Wendy to testify at trial, I don't think she went to the grand jury and got the indictment of Wendy yet. I think that's going to happen next. I think that's why you'll see a little bit of a lag between the verdict and her indictment, her arrest. But I do think that day is coming, and it's coming sooner than later.
Yeah, so I'm a little confused. Did you guys watch the Georgia Kappelman little press
No, I
conference?
was just going to ask you if they had it. We didn't see that. We saw
So,
the
so
Markel.
COE, I did send that COE. If you have it, it would be great, because I just asked her a bunch of questions, and so let me just kind of.
So I was watching it on WCTV, and they cut it off right when you asked the question.
Oh,
Because
really?
you opened it up about the football game, and I heard that, and then all of a sudden they went back to, and that was prosecutor Georgia Kappelman, and I'm like, I wanted to hear what Joel was going to ask her.
I'd like to hear the whole thing.
Yeah.
Hear what they're saying.
Well, it's saying
CO
it's loading on my end. Was it delivered?
It says it was delivered and/or read on my end. And then
Yeah, I can't see. I see her, but I can't load it. But if you can email it while you're talking. Also, I'm going to have some sound from you. 1:49 of Phil Markel giving his impact statement.
Let me just email this to you real quickly. And you said you guys saw the Markel press conference?
We did. I'm not sure that. Did we all see it? I saw it.
I saw most of it.
Okay. This is taking a minute to load, COE, but I will send it to you right away. How does STS not have 1 million subscribers? We're going to get there one day, but I appreciate it very much. And by the way, COE keeps everything together, including my kids, which is the most important. She does it all. Space Coast on the West Coast. She's been getting up, ungodly hours to help here. Steve Cohen is hustling for guests right now for next week. Steve and I are going to, I think, drive back tomorrow. And obviously the mods do an incredible job. And the guests, I mean, again, I said it earlier, Jared, Dave, they're awesome. But Joe Patuto and Tim Jansen are the MVP. They get the special employee parking space for the month because they put in an amazing effort, and we are grateful for that. And I always say, best guests, better community. And I got to meet a gazillion people at this trial, and it's been absolutely incredible. And COE, this is still loading. I'm going to email it to you in a second. I kind of want to save it so you can watch Georgia in person. I'll say this: she was wearing a red power suit. She came out. The entire media gaggle and everyone watching gave her like a rousing round of applause, and you could tell how happy she was. And again, I did confirm that she only slept 3 hours last night. And I did ask her, just the question I was asking Jared was, being the daughter of a former FSU quarterback, she said that she was just born with this competitive spirit. And something tells me she is not done by a long shot. So I am sending this out to you right now, COE. Hang on one
I've seen a
second.
bunch of times in the comments too, people asking whether or not that there's some rumor that Georgia is being moved out of Leon County. I haven't seen that. She's the lead homicide prosecutor, so I wouldn't think that would be the case. But even if she were moved to Gadsden County or Wakulla County within the circuit, she would still probably be the one that would come back and handle a trial if Wendy were arrested.
Yeah, I just
But again,
I want to.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I'm gonna. Yeah, I have not heard that. Okay, so this is Phil. Thanks, COE. I'm gonna play. This is now Phil Markel from earlier this evening after the verdict was read.
For anyone to commit such a cold-blooded, unprovoked act of murder is horrific. For Donna, someone who claims to care so much about Ben and Lincoln, her sun shines. Her actions are beyond comprehension. She has harmed forever the people she claims to have loved. In the Jewish custom, we have an expression to always wish others to live to 120 years of age. For Donna, I wish her to live to 120, alone in her jail cell. I wish that every day of her remaining days, she thinks about the harm she has caused to so many, especially those two boys she claims to have loved so much. For these reasons, Your Honor, I ask the court sentence Donna Adelson to the maximum possible sentence. And my only short question to Donna, was it worth it?
Did you see her
Jared?
shaking her head?
Yeah. I did. Jared, let's go around the horn on this one. I'm not even going to ask a question. So, Jared, the floor is yours.
I'll defer to Joe first.
Oh, Joe?
I think it was cathartic for Phil. I think it was cathartic for Ruth. And it was the first time in the victim witness statements that I've heard a member of the family make where they really went out with passion against the perpetrator. They had been very measured in the statements before, and I think they feel now all the players but Wendy, possibly Harvey, are out of the picture, and they feel much freer to really express the emotion and the grief and the anger that they feel. And I thought they did a great job, and I thought it was perfectly justified, and I was glad to hear them do it.
Yeah. I was too. You know, and they're so like tactful and gracious, because if it were me, I would have been already thinking of the next prosecution. They didn't even go there. They were asked about it, but they deferred to Georgia. And I'm kind of, you know, really want to tell you guys, but I'm going to give it another minute or so to see if this email goes through. It's a relatively large file.
And I will add, Joel, that in Ruth's statement, she said, how could a grandmother, how could a mother get her son to murder somebody? And I thought that was, again, an amazing and capturing of how awful and horrific this crime was. And I looked at them in the courtroom, you know, two grandparents on one side, two grandparents on the other side, having probably, you know, shared meals together and, you know, holiday occasions together, and now looking at each other. And I can just imagine, Phil, how can this person, you know, that I ate meals with, that my son married into this family, celebrated the births of the children the way I did, how can this person be the one who did this thing?
I mean, that's such a poignant, you know, comment to make, like that your own mother made you a murderer. And we saw that video of Charlie scarfing down Wendy's, ironically, and like, I mean, he just looks like a different person, like bordering on like animal after being in prison. He just like literally eating food like a caveman in there. And it's just like, and she's the one who's now convicted and who is now the mastermind of this because of this conviction. Right after this question, I'm going to scroll to the very bottom of the chat. So if you have questions, I mean, obviously it's a heavy night. It's a night to be grateful for justice, but it's definitely kind of for me, at least, it feels, I don't know, it's like a surreal, it's kind of a heavy night. I don't know how else to describe it, but Joel, did you see when Ruth mentioned Rob in her witness impact statement, Donna rolled her eyes? She's a definition of sociopath. So no, I was in there and I literally could only see the back and can only hear. So obviously, you know, the view and the experience on quote unquote the screen, the TV screen, the YouTube screen, is much better in terms of actually capturing the pure moment. You know, I'm able to look around and see Harvey's reaction. Able to look at, you know, the jurors when they were in there. Those jurors didn't look at Donna. It kind of been like that the whole way through. I did ask George, are you surprised people projected this deliberation to go longer? And Georgia very confidently said, no, I thought this was going to be a shorter deliberation. So that was interesting. You know, but that just goes to show the kind of confidence, you know, she had in her case. And, you know, Sarah Catherine Dugan was there. Do you think Wendy would receive bond? So let me just kind of paint a little picture here while we're waiting for the video. Thank you to Pam. But so Georgia walked out, and Jeff Burlew, I've gotten to know, he's the print reporter for the Tallahassee Democrat, and the pool camera has been Court TV. So Julia Janae, just out of courtesy, got the first question or so. But when Georgia got out there and before the first question was asked, she said, "Don't even ask me. Don't even ask me." And everyone knew what she was talking about. And she was smiling. And then Julia asked a question and didn't ask. And then Jeff Burlew's an amazing reporter with the Tallahassee Democrat. He asked the question and she's like, "So you're going to be that guy, right?" And she didn't respond. And a couple of minutes later, I was able to get a question in, and I said something to the effect of, "Does Wendy have reason to be worried tonight?" And she's like, "Oh, so now it's going to be you," like joking with me. And while she was like kind of, joking with me, someone said, "What about, do we need to stay tuned?" They shouted from the back because those were her words. And I have to watch the tape, but Georgia looked at my camera and said, "You could stay tuned. You could stay tuned." He said something like that. And that was very frightening. If I'm Wendy Adelson, I'm nervous tonight. I mean, Dave Ehrenberg, before we get to Bill's comment here, I mean, you're the former state attorney. You're the Jack Campbell at one point of Palm Beach County, and Jack was there. Jack cut the interview off after a while because he knew how tired Georgia was. And also, quite frankly, I think he was getting uncomfortable with the amount of Wendy questions coming at Georgia. But what do you make of that? We'll watch the tape either today or tomorrow, and the COE is going to post it, obviously, under the video tab. But what do you make of the fact that that she said that? She kind of looked and said, "You could stay tuned. You could stay tuned."
Yeah, well, didn't she say that after Charlie's trial about Donna, right? So, I mean, she's tipping her hat, her hand. She's showing her cards, to use another metaphor. I texted Jack Campbell after the verdict, and I gave him huge congratulations, all caps, and how great he and Georgia are, and I then put in, I said, "And next stop, ... That's all." He gave a heart to my my comment. Doesn't mean, by the way, it doesn't mean that he was trying to tell me anything. He has always avoided telling me any inside information about the case. But when you read between the lines of Georgia's comments and the way that this office has been handling this case, one step at a time, this goes right to Wendy. And if you're Wendy, you're looking for the next flight to Vietnam.
Yeah, and that's why I was asking ChatGPT how long the paddling is to Havana from Miami. And it's a lot, but Jared, I mean, all these people on some level, including Georgia. And to be honest, Jared, that's why I asked her the question about her dad being a football player, because I wanted to get a sense of like how competitive she really is. And she doubled down and was like, "I'm extremely competitive," almost signaling that I'm not done here yet. The game's not over. What do you make of those comments that she said, "Stay tuned" twice? I have to watch it to really get the context, because when you're there, it's tough to tell, but it sounded like a little bit of a taunt to Wendy directly.
I think there was a little bit of that. She, as you said, when she walked out, she said, "I don't want to even hear it. Don't ask the question." At one point, someone asked about Wendy, and she said that's a bad word or something like that. And then she was kind of goaded into saying the "stay tuned," but she meant it. You could tell she wants full justice in this, and I truly believe that this has become personal for her. And I know that a lot of these cases become personal for prosecutors, and Dave could tell you, you get to know these victims' families, and it's hard not to get connected to it. We see it on Dateline and shows like that all the time, where the police officer will say, "I didn't want to retire until I found the killer." This is the, fifth trial or fourth trial that they've had on this. This is the fifth conviction they've had on this. This is very personal to Georgia. She has gotten to know the Markells. She has gotten to know the family and know what they have been through. She wants full justice. We all want full justice, but Georgia, she's in the trenches. She is that quarterback that is making these passes and is the one who's trying not to turn the ball over. And she's done a phenomenal job, just like her dad did when he was quarterback at Florida State. Go Noles. And she's going to keep going. She's going to keep going. I'm confident.
Yeah.
And you
Joe,
also
I mean,
you also did get a Go Noles out of her too. So
yeah. I, by the way, took credit for the Knowles win. I don't know if she loved that or not, but
I heard that as well.
Yeah. And I was told that, her godmother is was a professional female golfer or golf pro, but she said that's not the case. So I got some bad intel on that. But you know, Joe, one of the things that was sort of heartbreaking. Dave, you have to run.
Yeah, thank you. This has been a great night and a great panel. And Joel, thank you for having me on. Jared, you're awesome, dude. Except my Canes are still the top football team in the state.
October 4th, we'll see you, Dave.
See you there.
Where's that game? Is that up in
here? That is here.
Ehrenberg. We should go up for that, Ehrenberg.
We should. If you tell them you know Jared Ross, you get VIP treatment. And
not quite.
And Professor Joe did a yeoman's job. She was just amazing all day. I don't know how you do it.
Well, thank you. I always enjoy being on with you. You're such a delight and so insightful. So
you should meet him in person. He's even better in person.
Yeah.
That's very sweet. You guys are awesome. It's a love fest because it's a great day. We should be celebrating justice.
Yeah.
Right.
And I have a feeling we'll be back here soon. So
all right, Dave. Thanks, man. See you.
Thanks,
we'll talk soon. Okay, so this is what I was going to ask Joe, and I'm kind of like losing my mind tonight, but everyone's talking Wendy. Number one, I don't think I've ever seen a person as defeated as Harvey. And by the way, I was doing kind of a wrap-up show of pre-verdict, and everyone, when I got back upstairs to 3G, everyone's like, you just missed Harvey. I'm like, what are you talking about? He went into the media room, like uninvited, and started grabbing slices of pizza, which I thought was sort of funny, and I guess mildly disturbing. Like, I don't know if he didn't want to leave the building or if he just wanted to get free pizza. I'm not sure what was going on there, but Joe, and feel free to jump in with the comment you just had, but I think everyone is overlooking. I really got a chance to like look at Harvey here. And again, I feel like if I have one skill in life, it's like I'm decent at reading people, and I have zero doubt that this guy was in on this and knew every step of the way what was going on. I mean, do you think he needs to be equally nervous, even though, I think he's in his early to mid 80s, 82, 83, but justice doesn't really care about that.
Right. Let me just say before I answer that, didn't he take his 3 kids and crash a wedding one time, his employee's wedding? So he doesn't seem to mind going and getting free food. Yeah, and Dave said, and I agree with him, that at this point, when they go with Wendy, they may just try the last 2 of them together. They don't need to do one by one. I'm repeating what he said, but I think it was Dave, wasn't it? Or was it you, Jared? It was one of you.
No, it was Dave.
Dave. They don't need to go one by one anymore. They won't be able to use Wendy to testify. At least they can't force her to testify, so they might as well put the 2 of them together. I think, and Joel, your mother said this, he ate with her, he slept with her, they did everything together. It's inconceivable that they didn't talk and plan this murder together. She may have been the lead runner because she seemed to be the one who was the driving force in that marriage, but he was there with her the whole time. And I think I may have said this somewhere, that the references at the bump about let's not tell dad, Wendy doesn't need to know, have nothing to do about the planning and the execution of the murder. They have to do with these are the people who, are the least likely to be able to hold, the whole there, we won't use the word together, and give something up. And so, and they're going to be nervous wrecks. So let's protect them from this latest problem. That's what I think that was. So I do think there's information that runs to Harvey. But I think as compared to Wendy, there's even less that directly implicates him. Unless some of the stuff that we don't know, that maybe more text messages, maybe WhatsApp from Donna's phone. And I continue to hope, and it may be because I'm no more techie than you are, Joel,
Yeah.
that the ability to eliminate background sound and pull up sound may get them some information in some of the recordings that they haven't been able to use because they can't hear what's being said. So I continue to hope that somebody's going to be able to do between, now and the next time around, be able to get more of that stuff.
By the way,
Yeah,
I'm
that Matsuri tape. I mean, if they could ever figure out what they were talking about, because you could,
Right.
I mean, in a little bit you could see of Harvey in that. He certainly looked like he was engaged. I mean, didn't he make a comment like, I didn't think they were that smart or
Right.
something like that? So there's no way that man was not involved in some way, at the very least, accessory after the fact. But come on, he knew.
Yeah. Joe, what about this from Nettie Danielle? And then I'll share some stuff. I'm trying to resend this Georgia interview to the COE, but I'm not having much luck. And we're going to post it. So keep an eye out. Either way, we're going to post it under the video tab, both the Markel's press conference and Georgia Cappleman's press conference. It'll be up probably later tonight, but we're going to try to get it to you now if I can. But how much of an impact did Charlie's known conviction have on the jury, do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I think it had an impact, but I think the most significant impact was the ability of Georgia to use the adoptive admissions against Donna, where Donna is adopting the notion that he's not guilty. It's the fake extortion plot. And I think the fact that a jury convicted him, together with the evidence that the jury got, that Donna was claiming that silly story was a real story, that the two together, I think, had a pretty significant impact on the jury.
So Jared, one of the things that Georgia mentioned, and again, we'll have this under the video tab, but was Pat Sanford was there. Jason Newland came in, and this wouldn't happen without those guys. I mean, those guys are the core of this office. Jason Newland is the chief investigator and FBI special agent Pat Sanford. And I mean, I had a chance to talk to Pat, who I don't know really, but we bumped into each other in the elevator. And that guy is like as much as whatever the maximum capacity is to be a law enforcement officer, to have that in your like blood and DNA. That's what he has. Like all he cared about was investigating this case and getting justice for the Markel. COE, I tried resending it. Let's via email, by the way. But Jared, since you know everybody kind of personally here, Georgia was asked a question about Ben and Lincoln, and she said, she literally did this, and she was like, oh, like one of these, and she's like, she goes, it keeps me up at night. She's like, and the implication was, I just put these kids' grandmother in prison for the rest of her life, and it's got to affect you. I mean, no matter what you think of her, no matter your opinion, she's a grandmother that these boys know. So now these kids are re-victimized, and Georgia talked about that. I mean, what about that?
It's devastating, and it's hard not to think about the fact that this woman helped raise them, for better or worse, and I would say probably for worse. But the fact of the matter is that after their father was killed, they moved down to South Florida. They lived with them for a while, and even when they weren't living with them, she was a caregiver, a primary caregiver for them. She went and picked them up at school every day, took them back to her apartment or her condo, whatever it was. This is a woman that was more than just a typical grandmother. She was a caregiver for these kids, and they know what's going on at this point. They're not 3 and 4 years old anymore. It's got to be devastating for them. It's got to be. And then you look over to the gallery and then the victim impact statements, and you hear both Ruth and Phil talk about the alienation that they've had from these boys, and that they haven't been able to watch these grandkids grow up and have anything but controlled visits with them. This is pure evil. The whole thing is pure evil. And I'm sure the fact that Georgia put away a primary caregiver of these children weighs on her, but she knows it was the right thing to do. She knows that justice is being served, and I'm sure she has some of the same, I don't want to use the word reservation because it's not reservation, but some of the same concern about going after their mother, but she knows it has to be done.
I agree 100%. I mean, I think that is definitely something that crosses her mind, but doesn't deter her. You know, like she's a human being like everybody else. I'm talking about Georgia. So, man, I'm telling you though, if I'm Wendy Adelson, I mean, I'm terrified right now because we'll have to rewatch the way she answered my question, but it certainly wasn't like, oh no, we're done. This is over. And, I'm on to my next case. She did joke that she has other cases. She did joke about that. Phil in the presser mentioned, this is from Christine. By the way, shout out to all the new members. Please, it's free. Just hit the like button and please subscribe. We've got a very active Patreon page now that the COE works on. And shout out to the new people who have joined up. We do a panel show for everyone who's new every night of the week with 3 panelists. That's why we say, excuse me, best guests in all of true crime. But I always say best guest, better community. But Phil in the presser mentioned Rob Adelson. It was really touching. We all need a moment to empathize. I mean, look, he in my eyes, he's the hero of this trial. And Georgia was asked about this, by the way, and was asked, why did you never call Rob before? And she said, I didn't want to have him do this unless I really needed him, and I needed him here. So again, Jared, I mean, that goes to her empathy, having a really I mean, this isn't like the job that I do, which, pretty much, a monkey could do. But George is dealing with people's lives. I mean, she's dealing with, Donna Adelson's life is effectively over now. But for her to comment about Rob saying that she was basically forced this time to get this testimony and did everything she could to not elicit that testimony so she wouldn't have to put him through that says a lot about Georgia, right?
It does. And she was absolutely right. I was in a hotel room in Chicago watching his testimony, and I had to go down for a meeting probably about 3 minutes after he was done. I had to collect myself in the bathroom. I was so moved by not even what he said, but how he reacted on the stand. He was devastated. He's looking at his mother. This is the woman that birthed him, the woman that raised him. I couldn't even imagine. And I said it, I was fortunate to have lunch with Steve today, Steve Cohen today. And I said to him,
Better you than me. And I know Steve's listening.
Absolutely. It was a great lunch. We had it was Ashley, Steve, and I. We had a great lunch. But I said to him, there's part of me that looks at Donna and can see my mother, and not because not the evil part, but my mom is a Jewish mother from Brooklyn. They're the same age. My mother's 75 years old. So I see a lot of that. And my mother loves my kids. And hey, Tim Jansen.
Tim Jansen, turn your phone the other way. How's dinner?
There you go.
How's dinner? How's dinner? What's up,
We're
Blake?
good. Everybody, you want to say hello to everybody?
Yeah, I do. Let's say hello. This is a celebration
say
dinner.
hello.
Who's that? Oh,
Where
that's
you at? Are
Harold.
you at
Anything
Cool
but
Beans?
dull. You've got.
Guilty,
I can't even
guilty.
see that's fancy fiction right there. Shout out to everybody.
Are you guys at Cool Beans?
TJ.
They're at Chuck's Fish House. Hey, everybody.
Oh, okay. Chuck's. Okay.
Hey,
Okay.
Tim Jansen.
I just saw the
problems.
Tim Jansen, how did you find out that there was a verdict and no one in that building knew except you?
I've got sources I can't disclose, but I knew before anybody that there was a verdict.
Fancy, how you feeling tonight, Fance?
I felt real good. Hey, Jared. Hey, Joe.
Should I tell you how I found out?
Yeah, tell us how you found out.
So I had to go home and walk the dog. walked the dogs and fed them, came
Mhm.
back, and I'm walking in the courthouse, going through security. And then while I'm going through security, the bailiff's microphone goes, "We have a verdict." I'm like, "You got a verdict?" He goes, "Yeah, we have a verdict." So I'm thinking everybody knows. So I go on the third floor, and they're all standing around. I go, "We got a verdict." They looked at me like I stepped in dog poop.
That's
And
awesome.
so I said, "No, we got a verdict." And I went, so they all, and then they believed me. So
Yeah. I mean, Tim,
it was
I didn't
true.
believe you, to be honest. Tim, let me ask you one last question because it's loud there. But when I asked Georgia, and then a person followed up and said, should we stay tuned? Georgia said something to the effect of, "You could stay tuned. You could stay tuned." What do you
That's
make of
what she
that?
said. Yeah, I think I will tell you, Jack came up to me and said, "This is a big, big win, a big win." And I think he meant to say this was a test case. This is big, the momentum, the verdict, all guilties, and quicker than when Charlie's conviction was. I think they've
Yeah.
got momentum, and I think their case is getting stronger. And I think there is going to be another charge.
Unreal.
I always said there would be. Remember, I said they would convict Wendy back in the very early days, Joel. You know that.
Fancy
Well, you were
picture.
earlier than
For
me,
those
but
who
I
don't
always
know,
did it too.
Fancy's
but you're
been
much
at it
smarter,
since day one. Fancy's one of the OGs, so it's a good night for the Markells, right?
We're very happy.
Yeah.
Great
Have a great
night.
dinner. I'll check in once we're done.
Okay.
All right.
Hi, y'all.
Click them right off. I like being I love this button where I can click people on and
You know,
off.
Joel, if I can add something about the grandparents,
Please.
the testimony by Donna's friends about how important a bar mitzvah was and how important it was for a grandparent to be there and how Donna, as the grandmother, wouldn't have missed it for the world. And then you think of the Markells being excluded from both of those bar mitzvahs. And I thought when I heard that testimony, you know, it's too bad that the evidence in this trial didn't include the question to Wendy about you didn't invite them, because I would have loved to hear that woman impeached by saying, and so, you know, what about the other grandparents? It was just,
I thought about the exact
it was
same thing. And
awful. Yeah.
as someone who my grandparents had all passed away before I was born, so they obviously were not at my bar mitzvah. That resonated with me when they said that. And I was just like, I had some strong words that I'm not going to use on the air.
And how could you have so little empathy, feeling that
Yeah.
strongly about how important it is and not thinking about the other grandparents and merrily excluding them? It's just awful.
Yeah, I mean, the real tragedy again is Ben and Lincoln, and you know, it's no secret that Phil and Shelley are in their 80s, and you just don't know what's going to happen, and people are asking all sorts of questions, like if you go after Wendy, what happened? And I don't even want to speculate because I really don't know, and there's so many variables. Thank you to Copper Horse, one of our amazing mods, but this question is an interesting question to Joe from Diane Matier. What about Wendy asking Jeff Lacasse, at what age do children have a memory? I mean, I think that's chilling, and that's one of the new pieces that has come out in this case. And with that sealed evidence that we don't know what it is, that very well could be damning for Wendy Adelson.
Yeah, it could be. That question in Wendy's prosecution, Georgia will have it. Whatever was the problem in Donna's, the discovery problem, if that's what it was, wasn't quite sure what that meant because he wasn't testifying as an expert. Anyway, I didn't understand quite what the problem was, but whatever it was, she'll have it fixed the next time. She may have Lacasse say that was the question and then bring in an expert to talk about when it happens. Let Lacasse say, I answered it from what I know without getting to what he knows. So that I think will be in the next time in Wendy's prosecution. I don't have any doubt about it. And you're right. I do believe that there will be other evidence. I've said over and over again that I cannot believe that the meticulous planner Donna waited until after the murder to handle things like, are the kids going to be enrolled in school? You know, how do we get the electricity turned off? All those little details. She may not have done it ahead of time, but just as she went online to find out what the difference between extortion and blackmail is, she had to have done some of it. Now, whether they have it because it's so many years ago is a different question, but I do think there are things that they didn't introduce this time that are out there.
I
Well,
agree.
and there's other things too, like her shutting off her cable
Right.
before it happened. Don't forget the testimony, and I feel horrible for her because she's a good friend of mine as well. But one of Wendy's friends who she hadn't seen in a while, she stopped by her house and dropped off a whole
To give
bunch of
the kids
used boys'
clothes, right?
clothes the night before.
Right.
And believe me, she does not want to have to testify, but she understands she might have to. There's all these things out there.
And
Yeah.
Lacasse said that she took down all the kids' drawings and things. They didn't make much of it in this trial. They will make more of it in Wendy's trial.
And
Yeah,
they
I mean,
didn't ask Wendy about it because
That's
they
right.
knew she had immunity.
Exactly.
That guy, by the way, is like one night away, like maybe 10 hours away from maybe having been pinned for these crimes. That's so crazy that that's what it appears Wendy was trying to do. And I think he'll be a really good witness once again with Wendy. But from Jared Tessis, often in the chat, Donna did look shocked. Jared, I mean, you're the closest one to being close to her. I mean, she literally, again, I can't explain what that sounded like. That was like a primal scream. I will never forget that. I will tell you that right now. I will be telling my grandkids about the time I sat in this trial in Tallahassee, Florida, and this grandmother, when the COE's, 80 and I'm 130, I'll say, and that grandmother was screaming. I mean, Jared, you think she had like the hubris to think that like she was going to actually be acquitted here, or is she just crying for herself in that moment?
I think it was more reality setting in than anything because she saw what happened in her son's trial. They came back in 3 hours, less than 3 hours, and they convicted him. I am sure her attorneys have told her, we want them to take as long as they can. They should be setting expectations. Again, we've seen these attorneys. But at the end of the day, that was more about her than it was anything else. That was more about the reality setting in that, holy crap, I'm going to prison for the rest of my life and I'm done.
I mean, Joe, I asked my mom this and she's not here. So let me ask you this. Like, what would you do if you knew at your age right now that you had to go to state prison in Florida for the rest of your life? I don't think you'd be very happy.
Well, you better believe I wouldn't be very happy, particularly since I would have been convicted unjustly, clearly. So I'd be working on my appeals and my behaviors. I would bring as many books or Kindle or whatever in there and plan on reading my way through the rest of my life.
Yeah, well, that's a good outlook. So that segues perfectly into what I'm about to talk about, which is I don't wish this on anyone, and in no way am I suggesting that I want it to happen. But when I looked at Harvey and seeing Donna's reaction, and then you go back to the hot mic call about how they were in this unaliving pact. I don't know how to say this other than it wouldn't surprise me in the least. Like Harvey looks like his life just ended. And I saw some comments in the chat that people are worried about him. You don't want to see that happen. And I hope it doesn't happen. And I'm, the better side of valor. I don't think it would happen, but I do feel like tonight, I mean, that whole family is just absolutely annihilated. You got Rob estranged, grandma slash wife slash mom is in prison, son is in prison, the elderly father is out in the world alone, the daughter is running for her life right now, whatever she's doing. I mean, Jared, if you don't want to do the time, don't do the crime. But these people, Harvey's in his 80s. I mean, he looks like he doesn't have any will to live. Like if he dropped dead tomorrow of some other ailment, it wouldn't surprise me. Like his will to live, I just saw it disappear from his body.
This is an extremely codependent family other than Rob. I think we found that out over the last, 10 plus years through what's come out in the media. Uh, Wendy seems to have divorced herself from it somewhat, at least from Donna. But you still saw when she left the courtroom, she gave Harvey a big hug. There was, that affection. He's got to be just at a loss. He doesn't know where to go. He doesn't know what to do. For the last 2 years, he's been living without his wife of 50 plus years that obviously she took care of every little detail in that household. I'm sure some part of him probably thought she was coming home after this. I mean, you got
Yeah,
to
I mean,
hope that, right? The same way Charlie did, but he, I don't know, he's probably trying to figure out how he comes to grips with this. And then, you know, uh, it is sad when you think about it, but he's in his 80s. Does he just want it to be over? I mean, like you said, you don't wish for that, you don't hope for that, but gosh,
yeah,
Can
go
I
ahead, Joe.
interject something here?
yeah.
Yeah.
One, I have sympathy for him, but this stuff is a 0-1 game. And either you say you commit a horrific act and you suffer the consequences and they're terrible and we feel bad about it, but the only other alternative is you don't suffer the consequences. There isn't any middle ground. And between, looking at the suffering that the perpetrators are now feeling and not having them do it, I don't think it's a close question.
Yeah. Shout out to Cotswolds, UK, lest you think we are not a global phenomenon. We're on in the UK right now. I got to tell you, it's indescribable the amount of people that have reached out through the duration of this trial over 3 weeks from literally every corner of the world. And it just goes to show you like the impact of the Markel family globally, that people are this attached to this family and getting justice for them. It's a very unusual case in so many ways. And, unlike, the Karen Reed case, which was just so toxic and remains toxic, like here, the Markels are such a breath of fresh air, such good people. And I think that that's why you have people literally from probably 6 continents. I don't know that anyone's watching in Antarctica necessarily, but there are people from all corners of the world who are rooting for the Markels, and it's because they are amazing people. And I got to meet the extended family this week, and they're amazing as well. This is a tough question. I have no idea. Joe Patuto, and this is putting the cart ahead of the horse, and this is the problem with this case. The kids are going to get dragged into it. But if Wendy's arrested, would the boys, Joe, potentially testify? I don't even know if it's appropriate to go there right now, but
No.
yeah.
No, they were 3 and almost 5 at the time.
I guess, but what they know now or what they've heard over the last, 10 years, I don't know.
I still don't think that the prosecutor would go that way. I just don't believe it.
I mean, you saw how Georgia didn't want to put Rob on the stand. She's not going to want to do that to those kids.
The only way that would happen is and I can't imagine it happening, is if one of the boys came forward and said to the prosecutor, I have evidence and I want to provide it.
What did Donna's
the ball would be in their court.
Yeah. What did Donna's lawyers do? I think they were partly expecting it. They were consoling her. I mean, again, I can't overstate this enough. It was like a primal scream. It gave me like the chills. It was haunting. And for some reason I immediately thought of like my own mother, not that she would ever be in that position, but it was just like the first association I had. Like if something horrible happened to my mother and you heard her scream, that's what it was like. And it was kind of very painful to listen to because I just happened to associate it with my own mom screaming like that. That was difficult to hear. But do you think they have a case to appeal? That's a Joe Patuto question. I mean, they're going to appeal it, of course.
Yeah, I think they've got 2 or 3 appealable issues that are better than anything Charlie had, with the exception of the conflict of interest. issue. I don't know how strong they are. I don't think they're strong enough, but I do think there are a couple. One of them relates to the closing by Georgia when she got close to the line of suggesting that the defense didn't have enough of a case, which sort of implicated, suggesting that their defense had a burden or implicated Donna's right not to take the stand. That one I think they will appeal on. I think they will probably appeal on Judge Everett's ruling allowing the information from Charlie's trial about I don't want to call it double extortion because it's the one extortion that's causing all of it. The first story, the one that he said was his explanation for why the money went to McBanoa, why the stapled money, everything he had to explain, that extortion. And Judge Everett let that evidence in as an adoptive admission by Donna. And I'm fairly confident that they will raise that ruling of Judge Everett's on appeal. So those two I can see coming. There might be, earlier today, I thought there might be a third. Defendants are going to appeal.
Joe, just to even get through the appeals process, the appellate process, she's not going to be around Phil Markell wants her to be around until she's 120. Maybe she will be around until she's 120, but she doesn't have time on her side is what I'm saying,
Well, yeah, but so what? She may live 5 years. She may live 10 years.
Yeah.
If the appeal, she takes an appeal and she gets out in 3, she's still going to have time on the outside unless they decide to retry her, which I assume they would. Well, yeah. I'm not so sure. So, there are a couple. I don't think they're strong enough, at least from what I saw at the trial, but they are definitely stronger, putting the conflict of interest issue aside, than anything that occurred in Charlie's trial.
Yeah. Phantom 6000, CO, if you can just pop that back up. And basically Phantom 6000, friend of mine, friend of the show, was saying that he's happy to see, here we go, justice was served. I guess that part is something to celebrate. And as a lawyer, I'm reassured to see the justice system work, especially these days. But I don't think the universe should be smiling tonight. I agree with that. There's a reason to be, to celebrate. But it is absolute tragedy all the way around. All these lives shattered. So, these cases, you always hear there's no such thing as closure. It's not like Phil Markell is going to go to bed tonight and have Danny back. And every time I talk to Phil, and for full disclosure, I'm probably going to go have a scotch with him in about 10 minutes because he's staying right next to me. Although he may have passed out tonight, but Phil will usually hang out. He likes to just sit under the stars and talk, and I love doing that with him. But he is not going to go to bed tonight with his son. He's going to go to bed tonight knowing that justice was served. But now he's probably going to be thinking, okay, is Wendy next? Like, it doesn't end for them. So it is. It's a very difficult cycle to be a part of. And he talked about how grateful he is, for people in the media and all the people he's met who have, he literally has people coming up to him in Tallahassee and saying hello. But someone also asked earlier, will Wendy need to change a venue? And I'll answer that no, because there's so many people here who have never heard of this case. Far more people who have never heard of this case and have heard of it, and they'll be able to see a jury here. But from Alex here, glad to learn that the Markell family communicate with Rob Adelson. At least the grandkids have a moral Aunt Markell and Uncle Rob from both sides. So they do, as far as I know, occasionally talk. And I've said this before, that Rob has apologized to them, and that's a heavy burden. It's not, think about being Rob Adelson tonight. It's not a pleasant place to be, even though justice is served. So that's a good comment by Phantom 6000 there.
And Joel, to your point about change of venue, I would say one thing is she's the only one that actually lived here. So if there was anyone of this group that would have gotten a change of venue, it would possibly be her. But like you said, there are too many people in this town who've never heard of this case. you saw, I mean, they made such a big deal about change of venue prior to the trial, and they were able to seat a jury pretty easily. They would be able to do the same thing for Wendy. She's not getting a change of venue. It will happen here in Tallahassee.
Yeah. By the way,
Should
Jared,
happen.
you think news travels fast enough to the Leon County Jail that Charlie already knows his mother is convicted?
I'm sure somebody's told him.
Yeah, I'm sure someone has too. Look at this.
The question is, does Wendy know yet?
That's a good question. Good morning from India. Woke up to a guilty verdict. My regards. We'll send it. And Aparna, thank you. I think I'm like going blind literally by every minute that passes. Australia's in the house. I mean, this has been such an unusual 3 weeks with the people. And someone said earlier that they are going to desperately miss Joe Patuto, and who can blame them? However, I have good news for you. Joe is retired, and we cover trending criminal cases, and Joe Patuto has been promoted to the high priestess of STS, and Joe, you're going to come on and do other cases, and obviously if anything happens with Wendy, you'll be back for Wendy, but Joe is a fixture now of STS. She's not allowed to go anywhere, and I'm sending Carm up to have lunch with her in Jersey, so Carm's going to seal the deal, but Joe's going to be here all the time. So don't worry about that. A couple of, final questions. COE, I don't want to sound like Jackie Fulford, but COE suggested I Dropbox the video. I wouldn't be able to get on the Dropbox if you paid me. COE, can you hop in here for a minute? I just want to say that I love you. You're awesome, and thank you for keeping everyone together. And I'm excited to see my family tomorrow evening. And I'm saying that on the record because I mean it. And also because a few people yelled at me because they thought I was being short with you, which I'm not. They don't know that we do this constantly. But did you happen to get the video that I shot?
The video that you sent over is still loading or uploading on your end. So once it uploads.
Will it ever upload, or because I'm not going to be able to Dropbox that, so I'm literally going to have to drive
not. I don't know how you sent it. Were you on cellular data? Were you on Wi-Fi? Where were you when you sent it? How big is the file? What is the file?
I would absolutely love to go to. Have you been to Iceland? I would love to go to Iceland one day and see the. Joe, have you been to Iceland?
No.
I want to go and see the northern. What is it? The Northern Lights.
They're not nice.
The record, Joel, earlier when
dead of winter, they have the Northern Lights. Well, I'm sorry, COE. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to say earlier when Joe said that she was not tech savvy, I just want to put it on the record. Joe, you are so much more tech savvy than Joel.
I saw that message. I didn't want to say anything.
COE, do we have a homing pigeon where I could send my cell phone back to you? I'm literally going to have to drive this video back to you in order to post this because I am not going to be able to get this.
Do you have a computer?
I do, but how do I get the video from my cell phone?
Drop it to your laptop.
Sorry, everybody. This is.
We can figure this out offline. Either way, I'm going to bed soon, so I can't post it tonight. I can post it tomorrow.
I think it's got to get posted tonight. I don't think that's one of these things that can get posted tomorrow. We'll figure it out in a minute. Okay. I don't know. Let me take 3 more questions. Thank you, COE. Email it, Joe. I tried KCL. It's not going through. Canada's in the house. This is important. Dan Markel is born in Montreal, and that's where Phil's extended family is from. They were such a sweet family. And then obviously Dan was raised in Toronto, and there's been a huge Canadian contingency. And I typically write back to every single person. It's not going to be physically possible unless I return emails for the next year, but I'm going to do my best. And before I take the final questions, just huge thanks to everybody. I mean, this has been an unbelievable experience, and it's going to get capped off with Steve Cohen and I driving back to Miami tomorrow. And Steve Cohen, this is where you earn your money right here, getting us the big gets post-trial. So do your thing, Steve Cohen. I'm looking for a final question. What about this, Joe Patuto? 3 more questions. Wendy knows. Do you think John Lauro, her attorney, watched? What do you think's going? Tommy Castellanos, isn't that the quarterback for FSU?
I saw that come up earlier, and I was like, "Oh,
hold
Tommy,
on. Are you the FSU? Look at this, number 1. I know that because I was at the Knowles game. Tommy, we've got FSU quarterback in the house. I don't think it's him. Joe, do you think Lauro had to watch this trial to see if he had to potentially prepare?
I think he's watched all of them. And if you recall John Singer the other night saying that he thought Wendy's demeanor this time, which was much more subdued, less combative, less arrogant looking, and he attributed to Laura maybe having some notion, whether from conversations with the prosecutor or just by looking at the tea leaves, that Wendy was being close to being prosecuted and had talked to her about it. And that is the result is her behavior on the witness stand this time. It reflected that those conversations with her lawyer. But she has to know whether John's conjecture is right or wrong. She has to know, and her lawyer has to know. If we can look at this trial and see all the new evidence pointing at Wendy, and we can look at the former trials and see each one predicted the next defendant, certainly her lawyer can look at the same things and see the same things.
Huge thanks to Adelson Hargroves. Tommy Castellano just called me dumb because he said the Northern Lights are more Scandinavia. You can see them in Iceland. I know this because I've read about it. So, Tommy, don't make me come to that football field. I will come out there. Jared, what do you think? Would Judge Everett preside over Wendy's trial? Paramus, New Jersey, the Paramus Park Mall. Yes.
Paramus Park Mall, I've been there.
Oh my God, look at this super chat. Marcia, thank you. This is unnecessary.
Whoa.
I feel uncomfortable right now, but thank you. That's a big lunch, but thank you so much. Thank you, Adelson. That's
gas money.
That's incredibly generous. Thank you. Best guest, better community. I say it all the time. Now I just lost track. Joe, what was I just asking you?
You had asked me if Judge Everett was going to preside over the next
Judge Everett, I got nervous there. Would Judge Everett preside?
Just depends on what rotation they're in. It depends on whether the chief judge wants him to continue to be the one to preside over the trial, and it also depends, does he want another Adelson trial?
Yep. Well,
he may be over this. I would be if I was him, but that man has the patience of Job. I mean,
look at this. Cindy Sescon says you and the COE kids need to see Norway and Iceland. I'm a Canadian Norwegian, and trust me, you will love the Northern Lights. She didn't say North; she just said you'll love it. But Lee T, Jared, please feel comfortable sharing. Would you please feel comfortable sharing how some of your friends who've been following this and involved in it felt about the verdict today without giving names? What was the consensus? I mean, I think there had to be relief, but you tell us.
Well, our jury duty group blew up around. I let them all know there's a verdict, and they all started tuning in, and there were a lot of F yeahs, a lot of Wendy's next, just people very pleased with the verdict, particularly those that were concerned about a hung jury. Got a lot of other comments from friends. I mean, my phone has continued to blow up while I've been on here. Just people all over the country who we all went to high school with. Just, it's about time. Let's get the next one. Everybody's very happy with the result. Happy in the fact that the verdict was the right verdict. Nobody's happy because, like you said, this is a tragedy. But as far as justice goes, everybody is happy.
Yeah. I'm down with this. Truth over bias. Good point, Jared. And I agree 1,000%. Morning Joe. The other Morning Joe is awful. So we'll put this Morning Joe on without the E. And I'm sure she will quickly be defeating them in the ratings. Look at this. Northern Lights in Washington State. Vonda Kay is in here. I've been seeing a lot of is my good friend Black Widor, Ned Smith with the big bun, Dr. Vonda Kay again. Nan is in here. Rachel D. Look at this. I found STS 2 years ago for Charlie's trial. She's out in the San Diego area. We've got, when I say this, I mean it. We've got the best guests and the better community. I mean, very loyal following. Steve Cohen is calling me right now. He must not know that I'm on. Hold on a second. This will be funny. Steve, we're live on air. How are you? I'll call you back. He just said OS, and he said the word after I said you're on air. It's going to be a long drive back tomorrow. Jimmy McNutty's been in the courtroom since the second week, I think. He went down the elevator with Harvey and his two guests. That must have been comfortable after the verdict. Jimmy, what was that like? I'll talk to you about that tomorrow for sure. But I think it's time to wrap it up. You probably
Joe,
won't see me.
excuse me. I've been reading the chats for the last 2 weeks, and so I haven't gotten out of the habit. You have gotten a question at least 6 or 7 times asking who the jury foreperson turned out to be.
Great question. I have no idea. I will find out. But look at this. Jimmy McNutty knows. Jury foreman looks like a younger Uma Thurman.
They said it was a she.
Really?
It was definitely a she. I heard that when they read the verdict.
Jimmy, do you know which row? Which row? And Jimmy will tell me. I had no idea. I mean, this is part of the problem. When you're in it, you're like so close to it, you have no idea. And I was chasing around Georgia and the Markells to try to speak to them. I would never have been able to keep up. Judge E is the GOAT. Yes. Look at this. My favorite story in the world, Evian, France. I told the story, Lake Geneva. It's where my grandmother's from the Switzerland side. And I once saw an old man filling up at the Evian. There's a little tap literally out of the mountain, and an old man filling up Evian with a used Perrier bottle. So one of my memories from childhood. Wendy had better get her affairs in order concerning her sons. Poor Rob having to witness his family fall apart. I mean, again, Indiana farm girl. I'd like to live on a farm. You know, I was at Monica Jordan, the private investigator, her farm, and she has 2 beautiful donkeys, Nacho and she. I could just live on a farm and hang out. I saw a picture of baby donkeys the other day, and it made me want to just move into Monica's home, but I don't think her husband would love that. Look at this. Morocco, justice for Dan. I think I'm just going to collapse right now. So, Jared Ross is obviously a friend of mine, friend of the show. I've met amazing people. I just read that COE. Jared is one of them. Jared's tight with a lot of people that I now know, like Dave Arenberg. Jared's just a great guy, nicer in person than he is on air, and he's pretty nice on air. His wife is smarter than he is, and my wife's smarter than I am, and I don't know. So we've got that in common. But Jared, a monumental night. For those who are just joining, Donna Adelson convicted guilty on all charges, including first-degree murder. She will never see the light of day. She will spend the rest of her life in a Florida state prison, which I cannot think of a worse place to spend your life at, except for maybe South Dakota in a state prison. Jared, your final thoughts.
It's been a long time coming. I am beyond pleased with the verdict. I want to thank the jurors. I didn't know any of them. I went to the courtroom one day partially to see if I knew any of the jurors. It's not that big of a town, but again, it shows you that you can seat an impartial juror, because there were 14 people there and I didn't know any of them. I want to thank them. They came up with the right decision. I want to thank the Markells for being just amazing people. I had the opportunity to spend some time with Ruth and Phil and Shelly on Sunday, and just get to talk to them, and it was well worth it. I was kind of feeling a little under the weather. I've been traveling a lot, and my wife and I were like, we could totally just not go. And I said, no, we have to go. And we were both so glad we did, because they are such wonderful people. They deserve justice. And Danny, I know that you're looking down. This morning, Joel, the picture you posted was sent in a group chat to us, and that bench, I drove by that this evening while the jury was deliberating. It's on my way to drop my daughter off at her theater class. And I just kind of got chills as I drove by, and it was kind of like Danny was saying, it's coming, and it's still coming. There's one more to go. And Betsy said it earlier today, about Donna, you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison. I want to say, Wendy, In the immortal words of the great Jewish WWE wrestler Bill Goldberg, you're next.
Damn, mic drop right there. Wendy, if I'm her, I am terrified. And trust me, reading the tea leaves, and I don't think you had to read the tea leaves. Georgia basically implied that she's coming for her, and it's not done. And if you're Harvey, I don't know that they're not coming for him either. Greetings from Mexico City here, which I had the beautiful privilege of visiting recently, and it was absolutely amazing. COE, you have a comment. What is your comment, please?
Hi, people who have been with us all day know that we're doing this, but Joel doesn't know. And if you are new and you have not already left a comment, I just wanted to let everyone know that on our YouTube community tab, we have created a space where you can leave a note for the Markells. So that's Dan Markell's mother, father, and sister. And you can leave a note, and I'm going to be collecting all of them and eventually sharing them with Phil, with Shelly, and with Ruth. So many of you have written us beautiful emails, DMs, notes. And while I didn't want to overwhelm the Markells during the trial, I think it would be very meaningful to them to be able to communicate with you guys and read all of the beautiful messages that you guys have sent. So if you'd like to leave a note for the Markells, you can do that on our community tab. I'm going to leave it up there for about a week or so, and then I'm going to collect everything and give it to the Markells. So please remember, this is still a sensitive time. Be respectful, but thank you to all of you guys, and we appreciate you. And I know that in speaking with Phil this weekend, or this past weekend when I met him, he was definitely touched. And in speaking to Ruth previously, she has been very moved by everyone's love, support, and by the STS community. So thanks to everyone.
Beautiful gesture, COE. Thank you. Finally, we get to the high priestess of STS, Joe Patuto. That's Joe without an E. Morning Joe without an E. I'll have Joe Patuto withdrawal now. That is one of the biggest worries circulating around the YouTubes, Joe Patuto. What is the remedy? The remedy, I already told him, and we're going to have you on for all sorts of cases. And obviously, we're going to continue to follow this. I do expect to get a text from Tim Jansen the second. Wendy is handcuffed, which could be any moment. I'm just hoping selfishly it's not tomorrow, because I'm going to plan to sleep until my body wakes up and then drive back. But Joe Patuto, the floor is wide open. I literally cannot thank you enough. So I will try to bribe you with Broadway tickets and other things, like a beautiful STS hat that I know you'll never wear. But maybe an STS mug that you might use. The floor is wide open for you, Joe. I cannot thank you enough.
Yeah, I guess I would say I agree with, and obviously I have to agree with what was said about justice being imperfect in terms of what it can do. You can't bring someone who's been murdered back to life. You can't give children back their parents. You can't give parents back their child. But what tonight shows is you can get a jury to repair and make as whole as possible from the crime, from the murder. And in this case, the prosecution did a terrific job. I was blown away and much enjoyed some of the cross-examinations yesterday. I thought that the closing was wonderful. But I would like to really go back and give a shout out to law enforcement who put this case together at the beginning when they didn't know what they were going to find. And it's hard enough to go through, pages and pages of records and listen to recordings and, all the work they did when you're going to find something at the end of the day, when it's going to be there. But to do it when you have no idea whether there's going to be a payoff, and to spend all those time and all those tedious hours. If you think it was tedious listening to it at trial, imagine going through thousands and thousands of emails, not knowing whether you're going to find anything, and the hours of the wiretaps and all the work they did. And the hard work paid off, 1,000 times. And so I think tonight I would like to end my remarks with just thanking them and praising them for the work that they did, because had they not done the work they did, we would not be here today. No matter how good a prosecutor Georgia is, we would not be here today.
Amazing final comments. I'm so glad you said that. And too many law enforcement, people in law enforcement get a bad rap, and just seeing Pat Sanford, the FBI agent there, and Jason Newland, and like Joe just said, they were doing this not knowing if there would be any payoff, and they were so committed to this. And even Ruth noted that in her victim impact statement, saying that, you know, FSU is known for its football, but it should be known for, you know, getting justice and investigative work, and she's right on the money there. So that's a great point to leave on. On the one hand, you've got this shot, and then you've got that shot. And this is no better family right here. Just very sweet people, genuine. And it has been a long road. And there are people that have been covering this way longer than we have. So kudos to all the content creators out there who've been doing that. Kudos to our team. Again, I'm just going to name the COE, Space Coast on the West Coast, who's working ridiculous hours and getting up at ridiculous times. You've got Steve Cohen, always hustling. And then the mods are absolutely incredible. And then all of our best guests, but specifically for this case, Joe Patuto and Tim Jansen, and we'll throw Jared in there as well. And obviously,
not even close to what they've done.
And obviously our community. The only thing I ask, please just hit that like button and subscribe on the way out. And please tell one friend about the show. That's how we grow. Someone said, you're shocked that we're not at 1 million. It's tough to get there. It takes a lot of work day in and day out, but please share the show with a friend. Love you, America. Love you, Tallahassee. And it's all about justice for this family. A little bit older tonight, Phil and Ruth, but a little more justice as they continue, believe it or not, down this path more than 11 years later. But tonight they got one step closer to full justice, not closure, but full justice. So love you all. Have a great night. We'll be back next week with a full slate of shows related to this case, hopefully with some big guests from Steve Cohen. And if anything breaks, wink, wink, stay tuned. If anything happens over the weekend, we'll bring it to you if we get the news. So love you all. Appreciate you more than you know, and we'll see you soon.